Guyen, you are not of my Gu family's blood. The dignified woman sitting opposite me, my mother in name, spoke with a voice as cold as frost. At the dining table, a young man who bore a 70% resemblance to my father was looking at me with the eyes of a victor. He was the true young master, Guyen Fan, and I was a fake who had occupied the nest for 20 years. Just as they thought I would break down, that I would kneel and beg for mercy, my mind was preoccupied with only one thing: how to safely transfer the 100 billion I had amassed by exploiting the plot. What did you say? I put down my chopsticks, cleaned out my ears, and looked at the woman opposite me, Shun Rong, with a bewildered expression. She wore exquisite makeup, but the harshness in her eyes and brows could not be concealed. I said, "You bastard, you can get out of our Gu family now." Shun Rong's voice rose an octave as she pointed her finger at my nose. "Our Yun Fan is back. There's no place for you here anymore." Beside her, Gu Yun Fan, the so-called true young master, had a smug smile on his lips. He looked at me, his eyes filled with contempt and disdain, as if looking at an ant that could be crushed at any moment. My father in name, Gu Zhengxiong, sat at the head of the table, holding his teacup in silence, tacitly approving Shun Rong's words. The atmosphere instantly dropped to a freezing point. Several servants stood in the distance, their heads bowed, not daring to breathe, but the corners of their eyes kept glancing in my direction, filled with schadenfreude. I knew this day had finally come. As a transmigrator, I had long known that in this urban cool text novel, I was the cannon fodder fake young master who wouldn't survive past the 3rd chapter. My existence was merely to serve as a foil to the awesomeness of the true young master, Gu Yun Fan, to be mercilessly kicked out after his return, and finally to die miserably in some corner. Unfortunately, they didn't know that from the first day I transmigrated, I never intended to be the young master of the Gu family. For the past 20 years, using my foreknowledge of the plot, I had secretly laid my plans, intercepting all the industries the Gu family was destined to prosper in, and every profitable opportunity. Now, on the surface, I was the adopted son of the Gu family, but secretly, I was a $100 billion tycoon they couldn't even begin to imagine. "Oh, I see." I nodded calmly, and even had the presence of mind to pick up a piece of the dompa pork in front of me with my chopsticks. Fat, but not greasy, it melted in my mouth. Not bad. I won't be able to eat this anymore. Better have a few more bites. My reaction was clearly beyond everyone's expectations. The long list of humiliating words Shun Rong had prepared was instantly stuck in her throat. The smugness on Gu Yunfan's face also froze. He couldn't understand. How could a stray dog who had just been told he was about to lose everything still be so calm? What kind of attitude is this? Shun Rong's chest heaved with anger. "You thief! You stole 20 years of our Yunfan's life, and you still have the face to eat here." "What else?" I swallowed the meat in my mouth, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and slowly stood up. One has to be full to have the strength to get lost, right? I scanned the magnificent villa, my eyes holding not a shred of attachment. "Fine, I'll go." My crisp and clean answer stunned even Gu Yunfan. He had prepared countless retorts to slap me in the face, ready to watch my pathetic display of kneeling and begging. But I had just flipped the table and quit the game? It was like punching a cotton ball, an indescribable frustration. "Wait." Gu Yunfan couldn't help but speak up. He had to regain control. "You want to leave? Fine. Leave behind everything the Gu family gave you." He looked me up and down, his gaze contemptuous. "This Armani suit on you, my mother bought it, right? And the Patek Philippe on your wrist, a birthday gift from my father, wasn't it? All of it is mine. Take it off." Shen Rong immediately chimed in. "That's right. And that credit card with a monthly limit of 1 million. Hand it over immediately. You, a bastard, are not qualified to spend a single penny of our Gu family's money." They echoed each other, determined to make me leave stripped bare, to make me experience the ultimate humiliation of falling from the clouds into the mud. I looked at their ugly faces and smiled. No problem. I decisively took off my suit jacket and threw it on the floor. Then I began to unfasten the watch on my wrist. Gu Yunfan's smile grew wider and wider, as if he could already see me penniless, begging on the streets. However, I unfastened the watch, tossing in my hand as my tone shifted. I've been the Gu family's son for 20 years, diligently playing the part of a profligate son. Even if there's no merit, there's been hard work, right? To dismiss me with just a single sentence. Isn't that a bit too unprincipled? Gu Zhengxiong finally put down his teacup and frowned. What else do you want? I held up 5 fingers. Not much. Give me 500 million for my lost youth, and we'll call it even. What? Shen Rong screamed. Are you insane? 500 million? Why don't you just go rob someone? Gu Yanfan also sneered. Gu Yan, have you lost your mind? An imposter like you dares to negotiate with us. I ignored them, simply staring at Gu Zhengxiong, and said coolly, Chairman Gu, was the baby swap 20 years ago really a mistake by the hospital? Boom! Gu Zhengxiong's face turned deathly pale in an instant. His pupils contracted violently, and the teacup in his hand almost slipped from his grasp. Gu Zhengxiong stared at me intently, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. This matter was his deepest, most buried secret. Besides himself and the person who handled it back then, it was impossible for a third person to know. How could I know? Seeing his reaction, I knew my gamble had paid off. The original novel had mentioned it briefly. Back then, the Gu family's business was in a precarious state. Gu Zhengxiong had heeded the slanderous advice of a master who claimed he lacked a son in his destiny and needed to find a noble son to suppress his fortune. Thus, he bribed the hospital and swapped me, an orphan with an excellent birth chart, for his biological son, Gu Yanfan. Now that the Gu family was prosperous, he naturally wanted to bring his biological son back, and it was time for me, the tool, to be disposed of. What nonsense are you spouting? Gu Zhengxiong roared, a fierce look masking his inner turmoil. You know best whether I'm spouting nonsense or not. I toyed with the Patek Philippe in my hand, my tone light. Tell me, if I were to leak this, to tell the media that the chairman of the Gu Corporation, in order to change his fate, went as far as to swap a civet cat for the crown prince, abandoning his own flesh and blood for 20 years. How many limit downs do you think Gu's stock price will hit? Gu Zhengxiong's breathing instantly became ragged. What he cared about most was his reputation and the company's stock price. If this were to be exposed, the entire Gu Corporation would be plunged into a massive public relations crisis. You dare threaten me? He gritted out. This isn't a threat, it's a transaction. I smiled. 500 million to buy out my 20 years of youth, and to buy this secret. It's a bargain, isn't it, Chairman Gu? Shen Rong and Gu Yunfan were dumbfounded. They had no idea what we were talking about, but they could see that Gu Zhengxiong was completely under my control. Dad, don't listen to his nonsense. He's just trying to extort us. Gu Yunfan said anxiously. Gu Zhengxiong ignored him, his face dark as he stared at me. After a long moment, he squeezed out a few words through his teeth. Fine, I'll give it to you. Dad, Gu Yanfan cried out in disbelief. Shut up. Gu Zhengxiong snapped irritably, then said to me, Give me your account number. The money will be there by tomorrow. Now you can get lost. A pleasure doing business with you. I tossed the watch back onto the table and turned to leave without a shred of sentimentality. The moment I stepped out of the Gu family villa's main gate, I let out a long sigh of relief. Goodbye, destiny of a cannon fodder. Hello, my $100 billion assets. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Uncle Lee. Help me book a flight to Swang. While you're at it, have my penthouse duplex at Thompson Riviera cleaned up. I'll be staying there tonight. Uncle Lee on the other end of the phone was a trusted confidant I had supported over the years. He managed all my assets on my behalf. Yes, young master. After hanging up, I hailed a taxi and headed straight for the airport. Tonight, there was a top-tier business gala in Suwon. The main attraction was Suhong's #1 female CEO, Su Qinghan. In the original novel, this ice-cold beauty was the top member of Gu Yunfan's harem. But unfortunately for him, now, she was my #1 target. Not for her beauty, but for the AI project in her hands that was about to detonate globally. If I can get it, my 100 billion can become 1 trillion. Suwon, the top-floor banquet hall of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. The lights were brilliant, and the social elites were gathered. Dressed in a casual outfit I had bought on the fly, I held a plate and feasted at the buffet area. I couldn't help it. After arguing at the Gu's for half the day, I hadn't even had a proper dinner. The people around me were in suits and gowns, holding champagne glasses and conversing in small groups. They looked at me as if I were an outsider who had snuck into freeload. I couldn't care less. Just then, the entire hall suddenly fell silent. At the entrance, a woman in a red strapless long dress slowly walked in. She was tall and slender, her skin fair than snow. A cascade of wavy curls rested casually on her shoulders. Her lips were fiery red, but her eyes were as cold as ice. Wherever she passed, all the men subconsciously held their breath. She was Su Qinghan, a woman of extreme beauty and extreme coldness. Gu Yunfan was also there. Like a peacock spreading its tail, he was the first to approach her, a smile he deemed charming plastered on his face. President Su, hello, I am Gu Yunfan from the Gu Corporation. Su Qinghan merely shot him a glance, not even pausing her steps as she walked straight past him. The smile on Gu Yunfan's face froze instantly. A wave of suppressed laughter rippled through the hall. I almost spat out the lobster in my mouth. Interesting. Su Qinghan paid no mind to anyone. Her gaze swept across the room, and finally, it landed on me. More accurately, it landed on the dinner plate in front of me. On it was piled Boston lobster, Australian Wagyu beef, and caviar. She frowned, a flicker of what looked suspiciously like disgust flashing through her eyes. Then, holding a glass of red wine, she actually walked straight towards me. In an instant, everyone's eyes focused on me. I was stunned. This wasn't in the script, was it? Shouldn't she fall for Gu Yunfan at first sight, and then begin a sweet, romantic journey of the domineering CEO falls in love with me? Why was she coming for a side character like me? Su Qinghan stopped in front of me. A cool, fragrant scent washed over me. It was quite pleasant. Her red lips parted slightly, her voice, like her presence, tinged with ice. Are you here as a refugee? My mouth was still stuffed with a piece of Wagyu beef. Hearing her words, I nearly choked. I pointed at myself, then at the plate, and asked indistinctly, Are you talking to me? Suina les Frauendipant. This was probably the first time she had ever seen someone dare to eat so obliviously in her presence. This is a private dinner, she said coldly, not a refugee camp. If you've had your fill, could I ask you to leave? Her words were utterly merciless. People nearby were already whispering. Who is that kid? Dressed in such cheap clothes. How did he get in? Look at the way he eats. Has he not had a good meal in 8 lifetimes? What a disgrace to Suzhou. Serves him right to be kicked out by President Su. Haha. Not far away, Gu Yunfan wore a gloating expression. He couldn't wait for me to be publicly humiliated by Su Qinghan, preferably by having security throw me out. I swallowed the beef in my mouth, took a sip of juice to wash it down, and then began to speak slowly and deliberately. President Su, you're mistaken. First, the dinner provides a buffet. Isn't it for people to eat? The fact that I'm eating a lot just means I have a big appetite and am in good health. Second, I have an invitation. I walked in openly and legitimately. I didn't sneak in. I pulled a gilt-edged invitation from my pocket and waved it in front of her. I had spent $1 million to buy this invitation from Scalper. Third, I paused, looking at her flawless face, and suddenly smiled. You look very beautiful today, but this red dress doesn't quite suit you. Su Qinghan's gaze in stand till why turn die sigh. No one had ever dared to comment on her attire to her face, let alone in such a flippant tone. Oh, is that so? A dangerous curve formed on her lips. Then in your opinion, what should I be wearing? Your element is metal, and your fate is on the harder side. Red belongs to the fire element, and fire overcomes metal. Wearing red, while it makes you command presence, will also harm your recent financial luck, and might even cause you to lose money. I spouted nonsense with a perfectly straight face. This was all stuff I had read in a feng shui book. I didn't expect to use it today. Su Qinghan was taken aback. She probably thought I was going to say she looked good in black or white. She never expected me to start talking about the 5 elements and destiny with her. The look in her eyes changed from disgust to staring at a lunatic. Utter nonsense. She snorted coldly and turned to leave. Hey, wait. I called after her. Is there something else? She turned back impatiently. A piece of advice for you. I lowered my voice to a volume only the 2 of us could hear. Don't touch the Blue Ocean Project tonight. Whoever touches it is doomed. After speaking, I ignored her shocked expression, picked up my plate, and with a jaunty turn, went to get a piece of tiramisu. Su Ching-han stood frozen in place, as if struck by lightning. The Blue Ocean Project was a major deal her company was secretly negotiating with a top overseas investment firm. Within the entire company, no more than 3 people knew about it. How could he possibly know? And he even said, whoever touches it is doomed. A sense of absurdity and horror instantly enveloped Su Ching-han's heart. She looked at the back of the figure who was now intently focused on his dessert, and for the first time, a look of solemnity appeared in her eyes. Who on earth was this man? And the reason I knew about the Blue Ocean Project was, of course, also because of the original novel. The book said this was a complete and utter scam. That overseas investment firm was just a shell company, its purpose solely to defraud the Su Group of its technology and capital. In the original story, it was because of this project that Su Ching-han's company nearly went bankrupt. In the end, it was Gu Yunfan who turned the tide, playing the hero and saving the damsel, thereby capturing her heart. But now, I can't leave the chance to play hero to Gu Yunfan. I licked the cream from the corner of my mouth, watching Gu Yunfan still bragging to people not far away, and a playful smile spread across my face. The real show was just beginning. Halfway through the banquet, it was time for project negotiations. As expected, a blonde, blue-eyed foreigner walked onto the stage and began to speak eloquently about his Blue Ocean project. The PowerPoint was dazzling, painting an incredibly enticing future. Many of the bosses present showed signs of interest. Gu Yunfan's eyes, in particular, were shining. He knew this was his golden opportunity to make a name for himself in the Suang business world. If he could secure this project, not only would he win the beauty's heart, but he would also firmly establish the Gu family's influence in Suang. He straightened his tie, held his wine glass, and walked confidently towards Su Ching-han. President Su, the prospects of this Blue Ocean project are immeasurable. Our Gu Corporation is very interested. I wonder if you would be willing to join forces with us for its development. He put on the air of a business elite, his eyes burning as he looked at Su Ching-han. He believed that no business person could refuse such a massive temptation. Su Ching-han held her wine glass, gently swirling the crimson liquid within, and didn't answer immediately. Her gaze drifted subconsciously to the corner. That man was still eating. It was as if nothing in the world was more important than the food on his plate. His word from earlier echoed in her ears again. Whoever touches it dies. Was it fear-mongering, or was there truth to it? Reason told her that the words of a man with an unknown background were not to be trusted. But a woman's sixth sense made her feel a trace of unease. I appreciate your kind offer, Mr. Gu, Su Ching-han said, pulling her gaze back, her tone returning to its usual coldness. However, the Su Group is not interested in this project at the moment. What? The smile on Gu Yunfan's face froze again. He couldn't believe his ears. Such a great project. And Su Ching-han said she wasn't interested? Was she insane? President Su, won't you reconsider? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he pressed, unwilling to give up. There's no need. Su Ching-han's tone left no room for argument. The people around them were also stunned. What's wrong with President Su? She's not even taking a bite of such a huge piece of meat. I don't get it. Could she have discovered some inside information we don't know about? Impossible, right? That's a Wall Street capital giant. Amid the bewildered gazes of the crowd, Gu Yunfan was rebuffed, his face ashen as he retreated to the side. He shot me a venomous glare. His intuition told him that Su Ching-han's refusal was definitely related to me. What the hell did this bastard say to Su Ching-han? I felt his gaze, raised the chicken leg in my hand towards him, and grinned. Mel? Gu Yunfan was so angry he almost crushed the wine glass in his hand. But he didn't give up. If Su Ching-han wouldn't do it, he would. When he made a fortune from this project, he would make Su Ching-han regret it until her guts turned green. He would make this good-for-nothing Gu Yin kneel before him and lick his shoes. He took a deep breath and turned towards the blonde foreigner. Watching his back as he flew like a moth to a flame, I shook my head. Silly child, rushing to throw your life away. I had eaten my fill, wiped my hands, and prepared to leave. I was stopped just as I reached the door. It was Su Ching-han. Stop. She still had that icy demeanor, but now there was a hint of inquiry in her eyes. Is there something else, President Sue? I asked lazily, my hands in my pockets. Who are you? She asked, getting straight to the point. A warm-hearted citizen just passing by. I don't believe you. Su Qinghan took a step closer, her powerful aura instantly enveloping me. How do you know about the Blue Ocean Project? And on what grounds do you determine that there's a problem with it? I guessed. Do you think I believe that? Whether you believe it or not is your business. In any case, I've already warned you. I shrugged, preparing to walk around her. If, she said suddenly, what you said is true, I'll owe you a favor. And if what I said is false, I asked back intrigued, then I will let you know the consequences of deceiving me. Her voice carried a bone-chilling coldness, just as expected of the ruthless female lead from the original story. She's got spunk. All right, I smiled. I'll be waiting. However, my favors don't come cheap. With that said, I didn't linger and left the banquet hall directly. Behind me, Su Qinghan watched my retreating figure, her eyes filled with extreme complexity. This man was like a dense fog, completely inscrutable to her. But she knew that starting tonight, the business world of Swang was likely in for a major upheaval. I returned to my penthouse duplex at Thompson Riviera, soaked in the huge jacuzzi, and sipped on an 82 Lafite, feeling like I had reached the pinnacle of life. My phone rang. It was Uncle Lee. Young master, the 500 million from the Gu family has been received. Understood, I replied, unsurprised. Although Gu Zhengxiong hated me, he was more afraid of losing his reputation and fortune. Also, as per your instructions, I've already used 10 billion in funds to short all of Gu Group's subsidiary companies, as well as over a dozen publicly listed companies that have deep collaborations with them. Very good. The corners of my mouth curled up. Didn't Gu Yunfan want to make a name for himself with the Blue Ocean Project? Then I'll just pull the rug out from under him, leaving him no chance to even get back on his feet. There's one more thing. Uncle Lee's tone was hesitant. President Su of the Su Group has just been trying to investigate your identity through various channels. Let her investigate, I said, completely unconcerned. Just leak a little bit of my superficial identity as the abandoned son of the Gu family to her. Understood. After hanging up, I looked at the brilliant night view outside the window, feeling pleased. Su Qinghan, you must be very curious right now, aren't you? Curious why a stray dog kicked out of his family could know your business secrets, why I could see through that massive scam at a glance. It's good to be curious. The deeper you fall, the more you won't be able to leave me. The next morning, a shocking piece of news exploded in the Swang business world. The Gu Group, in collaboration with over a dozen companies, invested 30 billion and high-profiledly announced a joint development of the Blue Ocean Project with the overseas capital giant, Poseidon Capital. At the signing ceremony, Gu Yunfan was in high spirits, standing in the spotlight, and spoke at length about the project's grand blueprint. He became the most sought-after new tycoon in Su Hong's business circle. Countless media outlets were praising his business acumen and astounding boldness. The Gu family's stock price soared in response. Gu Yunfan felt he was standing at the peak of his life. He even publicly stated to the media, "Some people are short-sighted and have missed out on this great era, but I will lead the Gu family to create new glory." Everyone knew that the some people he referred to as Su Qinghan. For a time, panic spread within the Su Group. Many shareholders and executives were questioning Su Qinghan's decision. President Su, why do we have to give up on such a great project? Yeah, now the Gu family is about to walk all over us. To miss out on billions in profit because of a single sentence from some kid of unknown origin. This is absurd. Inside Su Qinghan's CEO office, the atmosphere was extremely tense. She sat alone behind her desk, her expression as grim as still water. On the desk lay a file. The file contained information about me. Gu Yin, adopted son of the Gu family, mediocre for 20 years, a profligate character, recently kicked out by the Gu family, currently penniless. The information was simple and very clean. So clean, it was as if someone had deliberately fabricated it. How could a penniless, abandoned son know about the Blue Ocean Project? Why would a hedonistic playboy have such an all-seeing gaze? Su Qinghan rubbed her temples in frustration. Just then, her assistant knocked and entered, her face pale. "President Su, bad news." What happened? The, the CEO of Poseidon Capital has absconded with the funds. The Blue Ocean project was a scam from the very beginning. Boom! Su Qinghan shot up from her chair, her face a mask of shock. He was actually right. 30 billion. The Gu family and those dozen or so companies have been scammed out of a full 30 billion. This news, like a massive bomb, instantly detonated throughout all of Suwon. The Gu Group's stock price plummeted, hitting the limit down. All the companies involved in the project were dumbfounded. Yesterday, they were in heaven. Today, they plummeted into hell. And Su Qinghan, who had been the laughingstock of thousands just yesterday, had now become, in everyone's eyes, the sole prophet who saw through the truth. In her office, Su Qinghan gazed out the window, Gu Yan's casual words echoing endlessly in her mind. Whoever touches it dies. She took a deep breath, picked up her phone, and dialed a number. Give me a meeting with Gu Yan. Immediately, right now. I was at a 3-star Michelin restaurant, enjoying my lunch. Su Qinghan's call came just as I was about to enjoy the last dessert, a French soufflé. Hello. It's me, Su Qinghan. The voice on the other end carried a hint of urgency that was hard to detect. Oh, President Su, what can I do for you? I asked vaguely, putting a spoonful of soufflé into my mouth. I want to see you. Busy. No time. What a joke, I thought. You're the one begging me now. Of course, I'm going to play hard to get. Where are you? I'll come find you. Su Qinghan's tone left no room for refusal. I told you I'm busy. I'm Ikink. Which restaurant? I gave her the address, thinking to myself that this woman was quite persistent. After hanging up, I slowly savored my dessert. In less than 15 minutes, a stunning figure appeared at the restaurant's entrance. She still had that icy, unapproachable demeanor, but her stride betrayed a trace of anxiety. She spotted me at a glance and walked straight over, sitting down opposite me. You knew all along that Blue Ocean was a scam, she cut right to the chase, her eyes burning into me. Didn't I warn you? I spread my hands. You were the one who didn't believe me. Su Qinghan's chest heaved slightly. She truly hadn't believed it. If she hadn't seen the news with her own eyes, she would never have believed that a seemingly flippant guy could predict a $30 billion financial fraud. How did you know? She pressed. Heaven's secrets must not be revealed. I gave a mysterious smile. Gu Yan. Su Qinghan was getting annoyed. I don't have time to joke with you. I'm not joking either. I put down my spoon, leaned forward slightly, and stared in her eyes. President Su, have you forgotten that you still owe me a favor? Su Qinghan froze. What do you want? Simple, I said with a snap of my fingers. From now on, be my business consultant. You'll do whatever I tell you to do. Are you insane? Su Qinghan thought she had misheard. You want me to be your consultant? She was the #1 female CEO in Suwon, worth hundreds of billions. And now, a penniless nobody who had been kicked out of his family wanted her to be his consultant? It was utterly absurd. You're not willing? I raised an eyebrow. Fine then. I'll find someone else. I imagine there are a lot of people in Suwon right now who would be willing to pay a hefty price for my next prophecy, right? Su Qinghan's expression changed instantly. She knew I was telling the truth. After this incident, although the name Gu Yan wasn't widely known yet, he had already been labeled unfathomable within the truly elite circles. If he could really predict the future, his value would be immeasurable. Fine. Su Qinghan gritted her teeth, squeezing the word out. I agree. She wanted to see just what tricks this man had up his sleeve. Pleasure doing business with you. I smiled with satisfaction. Done. Step 1 in taming the Ice Queen CEO. Complete. Now, shouldn't you tell me who you really are? Su Qinghan was still not ready to give up. I'm just Gu Yan, I said, looking at her. Then I added, a man who can help you reach the pinnacle of the world. My eyes held a confidence and certainty she had never seen before. For no reason at all, Su Qinghan's heart skipped a beat. She looked at the man before her. His clothes were ordinary, and his behavior was a bit frivolous, but his eyes were as deep as a starry sky, as if they could see through everything. At that moment, she actually had an illusion that maybe, just maybe, he could really do it. Meanwhile, at the Gu residence. Crash! An expensive blue and white porcelain vase was violently smashed on the floor, shattering into pieces. Gu Jingxiong trembled with rage. pointing at Gu Yunfan's nose and cursing. 30 billion. A full 30 billion. You just poured it all down the drain like that. I didn't know it was a scam. Gu Yunfan's face was pale. He still hadn't recovered from the blow. His life felt like a joke. Yesterday, he was praised to the heavens, and today he had been utterly crushed. You didn't know? How did Su Qinghan know? Why was she able to pull out in time while you charged in like an idiot? Gu Jingxiong roared. It was Gu Yan. It must have been that bastard Gu Yan's doing. Gu Yanfan shifted all his resentment onto me. He must have said something to Su Qinghan. That's why she backed out. Gu Yan. Gu Jingxiong was taken aback. Then a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. Him again. He recalled the confident, determined look in my eyes when I left, and a strong sense of unease suddenly rose in his heart. This adopted son, whom he had personally abandoned, seemed to have slipped from his grasp, transforming into a monster he could no longer comprehend. Find him, Gu Jingxiong roared. Tear this city apart if you have to, but find that little bastard for me. I want him dead. In the days that followed, the business world of Suong was thrown into turmoil. The Gu Corporation was mired in a $30 billion fraud scandal. Its stock price hit the limit down for consecutive days, and nearly half of its market value evaporated. The dozen or so companies that had initially invested alongside Gu Yunfan were also severely crippled. They flocked to the Gu residence to demand repayment, making the entrance as chaotic as a marketplace every day. Gu Yunfan, once a rising star in the business world, became a pariah, a rat everyone wanted to beat. He didn't even dare to step outside his door. On the other hand, the Su Corporation's reputation reached an unprecedented peak. Su Qinghan's titles of stock market god and profit spread like wildfire, and she was revered by countless people as a business goddess. Only Su Qinghan herself knew that all of this originated from that mysterious man. At this moment, she was sitting across from me, reporting on the latest developments. The Gu Corporation's capital chain is about to break. They can hold on for another week at most. I nodded, sipping the top-grade Hong Pao tea she had personally brewed. Ever since I became her consultant, she had reported to my place on time every day, rain or shine. It was less about reporting on work and more about trying to extract more information from me. Now is the best time to acquire the Gu Corporation, Su Qinghan said, looking at me and asking tentatively, should we make our move? Norus. I shook my head. Let him fly a little longer. What I wanted wasn't a half-dead Gu Corporation. What I wanted was for the Gu family to disappear completely from Suong. So you call me here just to drink tea? Su Qinghan was a little dissatisfied. For the past few days, I had summoned her daily but had her do nothing, just watch me eat, drink, and be merry. She felt less like a business consultant and more like a maid. Of course not. I put down my teacup and handed her a document. Take a look at this. Su Qinghan took the document doubtfully. The moment she opened it, her expression changed instantly. This is Tianhua Group's internal financial report, she exclaimed. How did you get this? The Tianhua Group was another corporate giant in Suong and the Su Corporation's biggest competitor. This financial report was Tianhua Group's top secret. I have my ways. I smiled. Take a closer look. See if you find anything interesting. Su Qinghan suppressed the shock in her heart and carefully looked through the report. The more she read, the more tightly her brows furrowed. They're cooking the books, and their capital shortfall is far greater than the outside world imagines. That's right. I snapped my fingers. They've been robbing Peter to pay Paul with one of their projects, and now that project is about to blow up. So, Su Qinghan's breathing quickened. She had already guessed my intention. You mean, short it? I uttered the two words nonchalantly. Su Qinghan's heart skipped a beat. Shorting a giant corporation with a market cap of 100 billion? This was insane. It was practically dancing on the edge of a knife. If they failed, the Su Corporation would also be dragged into an abyss from which there was no return. How confident are you? She stared at me intently. 100%. My tone was calm, yet it carried an unquestionable force. Sukingan felsaident. Her reason was screaming danger, but a voice deep inside her was telling her to trust him. This man could create miracles. All right. She slammed her hand on the table. an unprecedented fire igniting in her eyes. I'll bet on you. This isn't a bet, I corrected her. This is called picking up free money. Seeing her spirited look, I smiled with satisfaction. The iceberg was finally starting to melt. And while we were plotting how to overturn the Suang business world, a conspiracy against me was also quietly unfolding. In a dark basement of the Gu residence, Gu Yunfan looked at the several ferocious-looking men before him, a hideous smile spreading across his face. How's it going? Don't worry, young master fan. The bald man in the lead grinned, revealing a set of yellow teeth. We've already found the kid's address. Thompson Riviera, right? Tonight, we'll have him accidentally fall from the top floor. Excellent. Gu Yunfan's eyes filled with glee. Remember, do it cleanly. Don't leave any traces. Don't worry, young master fan. We're professionals. The bald man patted his chest and left with his men. Watching their retreating figures, Gu Yunfan burst into hearty laughter. Gu Yin, oh Gu Yin, aren't you supposed to be able to prophesize? Did you calculate that you would die tonight? You're still too green to fight me. Night fell. I had just finished showering and, wearing a bathrobe, stood before the enormous floor-to-ceiling window with a glass of red wine, admiring the night view of Suang. Suddenly, I raised an eyebrow. They're here. I could feel several hostile auras rapidly approaching from downstairs. It seemed that Gu Yunfan, that kid, still couldn't resist using the most foolish method to solve the problem. I put down my wine glass, a cold sneer forming at the corner of my mouth. With just these few nobodies, they think they can touch me. Although my main business is making money, in the 20 years since I transmigrated into this book, I haven't spared any expense in hiring the world's top martial arts masters and retired soldier kings to train me for self-preservation. As I am now, taking on 10 or 8 special forces soldiers is like child's play. Bang! The apartment door was kicked open from the outside with immense force. The bald man, leading several of his underlings, rushed in with a savage grin. Kid, death is at your doorstep, and you're still in a mood to enjoy the view? The bald man brandished the steel pipe in his hand, closing in on me step by step. Did Gu Yunfan send you? I turned around, looking at them at my leisure. Yo, quite smart. The bald man was a little surprised. Since you know, then come with us obediently, or we can send you on your way. The view from down there should be pretty good. He pointed to the floor-to-ceiling window behind me. I choose the third option. What? The bald man froze. To send you down. The moment my words fell, my whole body shot out like a cheetah. The bald man only saw a blur before his eyes, and the next second, an irresistible force struck his abdomen. His entire body flew backward like a kite with a broken string, slamming hard against the wall, creating a spiderweb of cracks before sliding to the ground, unconscious on the spot. The remaining thugs were dumbfounded. Before they could even react to what had happened, I had already rushed in front of them. Crack! I broke one thug's arm at a grotesque angle. Bang! I shattered another thug's jaw with a vicious uppercut. Ah! Shrill screams echoed through the spacious apartment. In less than 30 seconds, all the intruders were lying on the ground, either dead or crippled. I clapped my hands as if I had just done something trivial. I walked over to the bald man I had knocked unconscious with a kick, lifted him up, and slapped him across the face. Smack! The bald man slowly came to, and seeing my face up close, he was scared out of his wits. You, don't come near me. You're not human. You're a devil. Tell me, I said, my voice icy as I gripped his neck. What other tricks does Gu Yunfan have up his sleeve? I don't know. Is that so? I applied a little pressure with my hand, and the bald man immediately felt the pain of suffocation, his face turning the color of pig's liver. I'll talk, he screamed in terror. Young Master Fan contacted Chairman Wang of Tianhua Group. They're going to join forces to deal with the Sioux Group. Oh, a glint flashed in my eyes. A bit interesting. 2 little loaches. What big waves could they possibly stir up? Anything else? No. Nothing else. That's all I know. Spare me, big brother, the bald man cried. I casually threw him to the ground, took out my phone, and dialed Su Qinghan's number. The call connected quickly. Hello. Su Qinghan's voice carried a trace of fatigue. She was probably still working overtime at the company. I have a big gift for you, want it? What? Send your people to Thompson Riviera. I caught a few small-time crooks who tried to kidnap me. They were sent by Nguyen Phan, I said lightly. Hand them over to the police. Assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, plus home invasion and robbery, should be enough to keep Nguyen Phan busy for a while. On the other end of the line, Su Ching Han was silent for a moment, then her voice suddenly turned cold. Are you hurt? I was taken aback. This woman, isn't her point of concern a bit off? I'm Fine. I'll be right there. With that, she hung up the phone. I looked at my phone and chuckled. This iceberg, it seems she's really starting to melt. Su Ching Han arrived quickly. Not only her, but she was also followed by her team of bodyguards and a lawyer. When she saw the thugs writhing on the floor and me standing unharmed in the middle, a clear look of relief washed over her perpetually icy face. But then, the way she looked at me became even more complicated. This man, not only can he foresee the future, but his fighting skills are also this terrifying. How many more secrets was he hiding? Leave these people to me. Su Ching Han's tone was unquestionable, carrying the domineering air of someone in a position of power. No problem. I shrugged. Soon, the bodyguards dragged the thugs out like dead dogs. The lawyer, meanwhile, began to take pictures and collect evidence. In the apartment, only Su Ching Han and I remained. Thank you. She looked at me and, for the first time, spoke in a tone of near equality. For what? Thank you for... Never mind. Her voice was soft, but I caught it. I smiled. CEO Su, are you worried about me? An unnatural blush flashed across Su Ching Han's cheeks, but her expression quickly turned icy again. You're overthinking it. You are my consultant now. If something happened to you, my losses would be significant. Is that so? I closed in on her, step by step, until I had her backed into a corner. She was tall, but even in high heels, she was still half a head shorter than me. I lowered my head, looking at her slightly trembling eyelashes, inhaling the cool, crisp scent from her body, and whispered, Then why were you so nervous just now? I wasn't, she said stubbornly. You were. I reached out and gently caressed her cheek. Her body instantly stiffened. Her skin was cool, yet incredibly delicate. Your face is burning up. Boom! Su Ching Han's mind went blank. In her entire life, no man had ever dared to get so close, to make such an intimate gesture. She felt her heart pound as if it were about to leap out of her throat. She wanted to push me away, but found herself weak all over, unable to summon any strength. You, let go of me. Her voice trembled, a tremor she herself didn't even notice. And if I don't? My face slowly drew closer. Looking at those red lips, so close, I had to admit I was a little moved. Just as I was about to take things a step further, my phone rang at the most inopportune moment. The atmosphere was shattered in an instant. Su Ching Han, as if waking from a dream, shoved me away violently. Her face was so red it looked like it could bleed. She turned and fled. I'm leaving. The lawyer will handle the rest. She fled my apartment, as if escaping. I watched her hasty retreat and gave a helpless smile. I picked up my phone and saw it was an unknown number. I answered the call. Hello, is this Mr. Nguyen? A gentle, pleasant female voice came from the other end of the line. Speaking. Who is this? My name is Wen Yu. I'm a student at the Swang Art Institute. I'd like to ask for your help. Wen Yu? The image of that cool, gentle, and talented girl from the art department in the original novel immediately surfaced in my mind. One of Nguyen Phan's harem members. Why is she looking for me? What is it? My brother is sick. He needs a lot of money for surgery. I heard you're very capable, so I was hoping. The girl's voice was tinged with tears, full of helplessness. I understood. Another damsel in distress cliché. In the original novel, it was Nguyen Phan who helped her with her brother's surgery fees, winning her undying devotion. Now this opportunity had fallen to me. How much do you need? I asked faintly. 500,000. Send me the address. I'll be right over. Hanging up the phone, I shook my head. Nguyen Phan, oh Nguyen Phan, not only are you a loser, but even the members of your harem are serving themselves up to me on a platter. What am I to make of you? When I arrived at the hospital, Wen Yu was squatting by the operating room door, hugging her knees and crying helplessly. She wore a faded dress, her long hair draped over her shoulders. Her face was bare of makeup, yet it couldn't hide the cool, gentle beauty characteristic of a Jiangnan woman. A truly pitiful sight. "When you," I called out. She looked up, saw me, and quickly wiped away her tears, standing up, a little flustered and uneasy. Mr. Gu, what's the situation? The doctor said my brother needs surgery immediately, or else. As she spoke, her eyes reddened again. "Don't worry about the surgery fee." I took out a black card and handed it to my assistant, Uncle Lee, who was beside me. "Go by this hospital." "What?" Wen Yu and Uncle Lee were both stunned. Even the passing doctors and nurses looked at me like I was an idiot. Young master." Uncle Lee wiped the cold sweat from his brow. "Is that really necessary? It's only a 500,000 surgery fee, isn't it?" "No." I shook my head, looking at Wen Yu with a serious expression. "From now on, Miss Wen's brother will be a VVP at our hospital. He must have the best doctors, the best medicine, and all his expenses will be waived." Wen Yu was completely dumbfounded. She had only wanted to borrow 500,000, but this man was going to buy the entire hospital outright? What an extravagant display of wealth. "Mr. Gu, I can't." She came back to her senses and waved her hands in a hurry. "Just consider it as me investing in your future." I interrupted her, looking into her eyes. "I've heard the songs you've written. You're a genius and shouldn't be buried by these worldly matters." In the original novel, Wen Yu was an extremely talented original musician who later became a Queen-level singer. Investing in her now would bring immeasurable returns in the future. Wen Yu's eyes instantly moistened. The long-held grievances and helplessness at this moment seemed to find an outlet for release. This man not only solved her biggest difficulty, but more importantly, he understood her. He saw her unknown talent. This feeling of being understood and affirmed moved her heart more than any amount of money. Thank you, Mr. Gu." She bowed deeply, her voice choked with sobs. Ding! Congratulations to the host for intercepting the protagonist's opportunity and obtaining the absolute loyalty of a Queen-level singer. Reward: 1,000 fortune points. In my mind, the long-lost system notification sound echoed. "Oh, I forgot to mention, I transmigrated into this book with a fortune interception system. As long as I continuously intercept the opportunities, women, and wealth of the original protagonist, Gu Yunfan, I can obtain fortune points to exchange for various awesome skills and items. This is also the reason why I was able to accumulate 100 billion in wealth so quickly." Looking at Wen Yu's adoring and grateful eyes, I nodded with satisfaction. Another one taken care of. Just then, a discordant voice sounded. "Wen Yu, why are you with him?" Gu Yunfan appeared out of nowhere, pointing at me with a face full of anger. Behind him followed the chairman of the Tianhua group, a pot-bellied middle-aged man, Chairman Wang. "Young Master Fan, it's this kid." Chairman Wang pointed at me and said to Gu Yunfan, "He's the mysterious mastermind behind Su Qing'an." Gu Yunfan's face instantly became incomparably venomous. New and old hatreds surged into his heart. "Gu Yan, it's you again," he roared through gritted teeth. "You lingering bastard." Gu Yunfan, when you saw him, she subconsciously hid behind me, a look of disgust on her face. She had also pleaded with Gu Yunfan before, but Gu Yunfan had proposed that she spend a night with him before he would lend her the money. Comparing the two, in her heart, Gu Yunfan was simply a shameless scoundrel. When Gu Yunfan saw Wen Yu's actions, his jealousy burned even hotter. "Wen Yu, don't be deceived by him. He's just a stray dog kicked out of the Gu family. Where would he get the money to help you?" "Who says I don't have money?" I smiled, put my arm around Wen Yu's shoulder, and said to her, Let's go see your brother. Don't let these flies ruin our mood." Gu Yunfan was so angry he was about to explode, but I directly ignored him. "Chairman Wang." I suddenly stopped as I passed by Chairman Wang, leaned in close to his ear, and said in a voice that only the two of us could hear, "I know about you embezzling company funds to support 3 mistresses overseas, and even having 5 children with them." Chairman Wang's body stiffened abruptly, and the color drained from his face in an instant. He looked at me as if he had seen a ghost, his lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. I patted his shoulder, gave him a meaningful smile, and then walked away with Wen Yu in my arms, leaving with a flourish. Only Gu Yunfan and Chairman Wang were left, standing frozen in place, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. In the following days, the sky over Swang completely changed. Under Su Qinghan's swift and decisive manipulation, the dark secrets of Tianhua Group's capital chain were completely exposed. The stock price plummeted, and in just 3 days, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Chairman Wang was taken away by the police for investigation on a series of charges, including embezzlement of public funds and fraudulent accounting. The commercial giant Tianhua Group collapsed with a crash, and the Su Group, at an extremely low price, acquired all of Tianhua Group's high-quality assets, becoming the undisputed commercial overlord of Suong in one fell swoop. The name Su Qinghan was completely deified. At the same time, the Gu family also met its doom. Gu Yunfan was formally arrested by the police for hiring someone to commit assault. The business empire that Gu Zhengxiong had painstakingly built for decades also came to an end under internal and external troubles. Banks came to collect debts, partners terminated their contracts one after another, the company was sealed, and its assets were auctioned off. The once mighty Gu family fell, and its followers scattered. Gu Zhengxiong's hair turned white overnight. From a majestic chairman, he became a debt-ridden prisoner. Shenrong couldn't accept this blow, had a mental breakdown, and was sent to a psychiatric hospital. The Gu family, which had been in the limelight just a week ago, was torn apart and its members dead or scattered in the blink of an eye. And I, the mastermind behind all of this, was leisurely lying on the deck of my private yacht, enjoying a sunbath. Su Qinghan, wearing a sexy bikini and sunglasses, sat beside me, personally peeling grapes for me. Her movements were still a bit clumsy, but her icy face carried a trace of tenderness she herself hadn't even noticed. You don't seem surprised at all. Su Qinghan fed a crystal-clear grape to my lips. Everything is under control. I opened my mouth to eat it, casually giving her delicate finger a gentle lick. Su Qinghan's body trembled slightly, a blush spreading across her cheeks as she shot me a reproachful glare. This charm was even more captivating than when she wore her cold expression. "What do you plan to do next?" she asked. "The world is so big. I want to see it," I said, stretching lazily as I gazed at the azure sea. "For example, go to Wall Street and reap some gains?" A flicker of intrigue flashed in Su Qinghan's eyes. She knew this man would never be satisfied with just a small corner like Suzhou and Hangzhou. His stage was the entire world. "I'll go with you," she said without hesitation. "Sure," I smiled. Just then, a melodious song drifted from the other side of the yacht. Wen Yu, wearing a white long dress, sat in front of the piano, playing and singing a new song she had written for me. Her voice was ethereal and soothing, as if it could cleanse the soul. Not far away, a girl in a sports bra with a fiery figure was dancing energetically on the deck to the music. Her name was Lin Shi, the intelligent and courageous athletic dancer from the original story. A few days ago, she had been ambushed in an underground fighting match and nearly lost her life. I happened to pass by and saved her. Since then, she had become my personal bodyguard. Another girl, wearing a school uniform and looking pure and adorable, was walking toward me with a plate of cut fruit, smiling sweetly. Her name was Su Inen, the white moonlight of Gu Yunfan in the original story. After her family fell into decline, she was forced to accompany a greasy, rich businessman, but I happened to rescue her too. Now, she had become my life assistant. Looking at these 4 stunning beauties, each with their own unique charm, I felt that my life seemed far more exciting than that of the original protagonist. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completely shattering the original protagonist's luck, causing a significant deviation in the world line. Reward, Ultimate Gift Pack. Open it. Open. Ding. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the Divine Wealth Aura. From now on, the return rate on your investments will be at least tenfold. Any lottery tickets you buy will guarantee the jackpot. Me? Is this system trying to turn me into a completely idle slacker? But I like it. I looked at Su Qinghan, at Wen Yu, at Lin Shi, at Su Inen, and suddenly felt that such a life wasn't so bad. Wealth, leisure, and beautiful companions. What more could one ask for? As for Guyen Fan, who was still in prison working on a sewing machine, who even remembered him? His life ended the moment I crossed into this world, and my life had only just begun. Dear, could you rate this story in the comments? On a scale of 1 to 10, please. If you like this kind of story, feel free to follow.